Okay, so this is going to be my labor and delivery story about my first son, what I can remember of it. I think I'm pretty good on the details. We'll see. So, to preface this, when I was pregnant with my first, I got really into the business of being born, hypnobirthing, Ina May and the farm, watched a million videos, read a million books, really into the whole natural birth, no epidural, no drugs thing. I really wanted to do it. I thought I could try to do it. I don't think I had enough confidence in myself. Anyway, we'll get into that later. I was really into it. I wanted to try at least. But I wasn't ballsy enough. I say ballsy because I think everyone who has a home birth are very ballsy, and I commend you. With my first, I was not ballsy. I was paranoid. So I wanted to have a natural hospital birth, or at least try. So on my due date, which was 11/11/11, I was trying to go into labor just like every other pregnant lady. I know you say like, oh, it's just a date. They're not really accurate. But then when you're pregnant and you're 40 weeks pregnant, you're like, I'm sick of being pregnant. You want the baby to be born on or before that date because you're just miserable. Granted, of course, it's healthier to keep the baby in for at least 39 weeks and da-da-da-da. Of course, I always believe that. I believe if they want to stay until 42 weeks, that's fine. It was never going to be induced. I never wanted to schedule a C-section. That was just me. So 11/11/11 came and went, and I was like, ugh. I don't even care about his birthday. I don't even care if it's some cool birthday. I just want him to have a birthday in the near future. So I started doing a bunch of stuff. For the week before I went to labor, I was shoving primrose oil up my hoo-ha. I lost my mucus plug at 39 weeks and probably like 4 days. I lost my mucus plug. I had been walking my dog. I had a crazy cramp. Yes, I'm insane. I was 9 months pregnant walking a pit bull, a very energetic one at that. Many people stopped me to see why I was walking a dog at 9 months pregnant. They're like, are you okay? I was like, I just need to be in labor. I'm fine. So I lost my mucus plug at 39 weeks and 4 days. What, baby?
I need Elmo.
You need Elmo? This is William. This is who I'm talking about. Come here. Say hi to the camera. Come here. Come here. Come here. Ooh, stand up. Say hi, camera.
Hi, camera.
This is William. This is who I gave birth to. Who I'm talking about. That's William. So I lost my mucus plug. TMI. If you want to see something disgusting, Google mucus plug. If you don't know what it is, it's gross. So I lost my mucus plug at 39 weeks 4 days, thinking I was going to go into labor early. I was super stoked. Didn't go into labor on my due date. So when I was 40 weeks and 1 day pregnant, I did everything I possibly could. I Googled everything I could do, minus castor oil. That's just gross. I went into labor. I started having contractions at about 10 a.m. the day after my due date. I had them about every 10 minutes. Nothing consistent. I mean, it was starting to be consistent, actually. And my husband got home from work, and we were dancing and just trying to keep it going. And then I just had a revelation. I was like, I do not want to be in labor. I don't want to have a baby. I'm scared. So I started cleaning my house like a lunatic. We went to Walmart because I needed pants for some reason. I just kind of had a moment like where I was like, oh no, I don't want to do this. I'm scared. It hurts. Mind you, it was not that bad. My contractions were not that bad. My contractions were not that bad. 8 o'clock at night, fast forward 8 o'clock at night, I was having contractions every 5 minutes. They were pretty solid. I decided we should go to Chipotle to have a last meal. So we did that. We went to Target after that, and in Target, I was just walking to walk to try and keep my labor going. I never had the intentions of going to the hospital. We went to Target with the intention of walking around. My contractions got really intense. They started to be 3 minutes apart, and I was like, okay, well, everything I read, 3 minutes apart, like I must be like progressing, you know? So I didn't have the intentions of going to the hospital really early, but we ended up going. I was anxious. I wanted to have my baby. I worked through my emotions, and I was ready. So we went to the hospital because I was having 3-minute apart contractions. I thought that meant that you were really far along. Okay, so we get to the hospital, I get to the labor and delivery floor, they're like, okay, pre-registered, cool. They checked me, and I was, drumroll please, 2 centimeters. Was horrible. The nurse said they don't admit patients, at least by this doctor, until 4 centimeters, so if you want to labor here, you can, but I don't recommend it because they'll probably ask you about 100 times if you want an epidural. So, didn't do that. We went home. I decided I wanted to labor by myself. I felt like I was actually kind of getting into a rhythm when I got home. I told my husband, go to sleep, get rest, you need it. At this point I had not slept for 24 hours, just about. I had been up the night before, and then this whole night I was awake, so this is like 2 in the morning. So at 2 in the morning, I was in the shower laboring, I was on the toilet laboring, I was in my room laboring, just meditating, hypno breathing, in the zone. I was really great. And then, about 4 a.m., I woke up my husband because I was bleeding a lot. I was kind of worried, not really, I don't know, but I think the sight of blood just freaked him out. So we ended up going to the hospital again, which was probably the worst thing, because I felt like I was in a really good rhythm at home. And as exhausted as I was almost sleeping in between. I just put Aaron in his jumper because he was bored of mommy. Where was I? So we got to the hospital for the second time. They checked me and she was like, oh, you're 3 centimeters. And that was like really hard for me because I felt like I had gone through so much labor by myself, and I felt like I was actually progressing, and it just went nowhere. So they wouldn't admit me. I had to walk in circles for like 2 more hours until they would admit me. At like 5 in the morning they admitted me. 5 or 5:30. They admitted me to the hospital. We got our room, everything. I was still having contractions. Now, meanwhile, I was having contractions every 3 minutes on the dot. I could look at a clock. Every 3 minutes I was having a contraction. I got 0 rest in between. I was exhausted. At this point I had not slept for almost 30 hours. I was just tired, so tired. My body was tired. I felt defeated. I think that checking me and giving me a number was just mentally screwed with me. Like, I was just like, ugh, really? I have only gone 3 centimeters and I've been in labor, according to me, since 10 a.m. the day before. So I was just exhausted. 0 sleep. Stressed out. I'm actually convinced that I probably was about a 4, maybe a 4.5 even, because I felt like I was moving into transition when I was at my house. I'm really convinced that I had the Sphincter Law of Sphincters. I don't know, you can Google it, from May. She says basically it's like the equivalent of someone walking in on you taking a poop. If you have a problem with pooping in front of someone, you're probably going to have problems giving birth in front of somebody. So I'm pretty sure I was probably a little more progressed when I was at home, but the whole act of going to the hospital stalled out my labor, maybe go backwards a little bit. That's just my theory. They told me I had to have an IV, which really upset me because I knew that was going to just be one more thing distracting me. So, and it was. Because they said, I guess, if I wanted to get an epidural, which I told them a million times that I didn't want to, that they were going to have to empty this bag into me. And then they could take the IV. So I was like, okay, just do it, just so I don't have to have the IV. They would have a hep lock, whatever, but they wouldn't have it running. So they ran it into me. So basically they let this bag run into me, and I was just, excuse you, sorry. I was peeing every 15 minutes. So it was like a contraction every 3 minutes, and I could watch the clock, and then when the clock would get to 15 minutes, I would pee. So it was horrible. So at about 6:30, 7 o'clock, I feel like I was going into a transition, I think. In hindsight, I think that. I started having really bad contractions. Like, I felt like someone was beating me with a sledgehammer in my head. Or like wrapping a vice around me. It was just horrible. I, at that point, being in a hospital bed, in a hospital gown, in a strange environment, with an IV in my arm, having to pee every 15 minutes, and watching the clock, and having a contraction, a horrible contraction every 3 minutes, and just I think the combination of that and no sleep, I was like, I can't do this. I can't have a baby. I can't have a natural birth. I can't do what I wanted to do. And I broke down like completely. My husband was like, are you okay? Because I told him before, like, don't let me get an epidural just because I'm like in pain. Because I anticipated it just being like pain that was my problem. It was pain on top of being exhausted, on top of being in a strange place, and my anxiety was like 10, and it was just bad. So, not to scare any pregnant girls out there, this is really helping, I'm sure. It was just really stressful. So, I told him I can't do it, I need an epidural. And then I cried, like a baby, bawled, and he was like, why are you crying? You just went through almost 24 hours of solid 3-minute contractions, like you made it this far, you're already dilated, like you are doing so great. And I was just crying, I was like, please, I don't want to do this, I don't want to fail. Like I felt like I was failing myself. In hindsight, I'm like, God, how stupid, just get the damn epidural, it makes you feel better. You're not gonna get a trophy at the end of it, you know? And this is just what worked for me. So I got the epidural, night and day, 100 times better. I had a great epidural, didn't feel anything. I feel like I ended up being stalled by the epidural. I mean, I know I did. But the nurse was pushing my PCA. I don't know if you know anything about a patient-controlled analgesic, which is what you get with your epidural. I was not pushing that button because just the epidural itself was a million times better than having pain. I still felt pressure and some pain, but it was nothing compared to the pain that I had. So every time the nurse came in, she was pushing my button, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. I'm a nurse, and I know that's wrong. I'm actually a licensed, well, in California it's licensed vocational nurse. Here in Nevada it's licensed practical nurse. Go figure. I'm a nurse. I know you're not supposed to push those unless you are the patient. She was coming in every hour and pushing it, and I was like, really? Every time she would push it, my contractions slowed down. And later on I realized that the reason she was doing that was because the doctor was not in the hospital. The doctor did not get to the hospital until 6 o'clock in the afternoon, right before change of shift, where the nurse is, right when I was at 10 centimeters dilated and ready to push. So he walked in at that time. I had not met the man before. So I was really upset that I had not met him before, but whatever. What are you gonna do? So he came in his suit, and I was doing practice pushes, which I think is hilarious because when you have to push, you have to push. You cannot stop it. You cannot practice. You just have to push. So there I am, spread eagle. This guy walks in a nice suit. Obviously he just got there. And he's like, takes one look at me, and he's like, does anyone have something for me to wear? Like, didn't even introduce himself because I was basically crowding when he came in. So it took me 45 minutes to push out my little baby boy. I had an epidural, so I just felt a lot of pressure. I'm not kind of people who are into like watching that happen. I didn't want a mirror. I didn't want to see it going on. I just wanted to get it done. So, and this whole time I was really surprisingly not scared, which I really thought I would be panicking. I was not scared to give birth. That was not the scary part for me. The scary part was more like needles and stuff, which is stupid. I pushed really fast because of my epidural, I think, and he ended up giving me an episiotomy. I feel it was because he was impatient, not because I needed it. Maybe I did, I don't know. My son had the cord around his neck one time. He was able to pull it over his head. It's actually kind of common. People get really worried about that. I don't know, both of my kids have that. So he had nuchal cord around his neck. But he was perfectly healthy. He came out screaming, and it was great. It was a wonderful birth experience because it was the birth of my first child. It was not as I expected it to be, but it never is. Yeah, that's my birth story. So my husband grabbed the camera at the last second because the doctor was like, oh, are you going to get your camera? And he was like, so we have a picture of his feet and we have a picture of my baby coming out. And it's just like the most amazing experience in the whole world to do that with your body. Like, you feel so accomplished. And even though I didn't get my natural birth and I didn't get what I wanted out of my birth, I got my beautiful baby.